In the middle of the Pacific Ocean sits a city that shouldn't exist. Not on a mountain, not on a continent, but directly on top of a shallow coral reef, off the edge of a tiny island called Temwin. Black basalt walls rise straight out of the water. Some of the columns weigh several tons each. There's no known source of matching basalt anywhere nearby. There's no evidence that wheels were used during construction. No evidence that iron tools were used. And they left no written record explaining how any of it was done. So who built Nan Madol? It isn't a single structure. It's an entire ceremonial city, roughly 90 artificial islets linked together by canals. That's exactly why people call it the Venice of the Pacific. Nan Madol sits off Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia, deep in the Western Pacific. In 2016, UNESCO added it to the World Heritage List, and in the same breath placed it on the list of World Heritage in danger. The first question is obvious. Where did all this stone come from? The walls are built mostly from prismatic basalt columns, natural formations created when lava cooled. Builders stacked them horizontally, like giant logs. Some individual columns weigh several tons. The heaviest corner sections may hold even more combined stone mass. But let's be precise here, because the internet loves to exaggerate. There's no solid archaeological record of 50-ton blocks. That's a myth that keeps getting repeated. What the actual research describes is multi-ton columns, impressive on their own, without needing to invent anything. There's no matching basalt source at the site itself. Most evidence points to the stone being moved from volcanic outcrops elsewhere on Pohnpei. How exactly is where the certainty runs out. Rafts, canoes, log rollers, coordinated human labor. All of these have been proposed. None of them has been directly confirmed by physical evidence. But even if you assume the stone somehow got there, who decided to build a city in the middle of a lagoon in the first place, instead of on solid ground? And here's the second key fact. No evidence suggests wheels were used in the construction of Nan Madol. No draft animals. No evidence that iron tools were used. Every ton of stone moved by hand and by water. How does a small island society pull off a project like that? Most of the construction happened between roughly 1200 and 1600 CE under the Saudeleur dynasty. And here's a detail that often gets lost. Nan Madol didn't appear all at once. It was built gradually, generation after generation, over centuries. The scale alone is one of the strongest pieces of evidence archaeologists have. A project like this required planning, coordinated labor, a stable food supply, and centralized political power. Nan Madol became the political seat of the Saudeleur rulers, who governed much of Pohnpei for several hundred years. Oral tradition describes powerful kings and a rigid social hierarchy. Archaeology backs up the centralized authority. The finer details of the legends simply can't be verified. And the more archaeologists learn about Nan Madol, the less it looks like an accidental settlement. The legends themselves are genuinely striking. Local stories tell of twin brothers with magical powers, of stones that flew through the air, of spirits helping raise the walls. These are powerful, culturally important stories, but they're tradition, not archaeological evidence. And any serious investigation has to keep that line clear. So what does the actual archaeology show? Excavations have uncovered elite tombs, ceremonial structures, residential areas, and artifacts tied to high status. Royal tombs contain human remains, burials linked to the society's ruling class. All of it reinforces the same picture. Nan Madol as a ceremonial and political center. What hasn't been found is any trace of unknown advanced technology, a lost super-civilization, or extraterrestrial involvement. Not one piece of evidence. So where does the mystery reputation actually come from? The scale, the remote ocean location, the brutal logistics, the lack of written records explaining the process, and genuinely impressive engineering achieved by a society with no evidence that iron tools or wheels were used in its construction. But impressive doesn't mean unexplained. Science is confident about several things. The city was built by the ancestors of modern Pohnpeians. Construction spanned centuries. The site served a ceremonial and political function. The basalt was moved by human effort. The society behind it was remarkably well organized. At the same time, science is honest about the gaps. Exactly how the heaviest stones were transported is still unclear. How labor was organized isn't fully known. How long each construction phase lasted remains uncertain. And why this exact location was chosen is still an open question. Science has partial answers, not complete ones. It's precisely in those gaps that the fringe theories move in. Atlantis, the lost continent of Mu, some vanished Pacific supercivilization, aliens. None of them are backed by any credible archaeological evidence. Worth knowing they exist, and worth moving straight past them, back to the facts. Today, Nan Madol is genuinely at risk. Dense tropical vegetation is breaking apart the stonework. Erosion is undercutting the islets. Sea levels keep rising. Preservation gets harder every year. And yet much of it has survived, remarkably intact, after centuries of exposure to the ocean. The biggest mystery of Nan Madol was never whether aliens helped build it. There's no evidence that they did. The real mystery is far more impressive. How did a small island society, using only the technology available to them, pull off one of the most extraordinary stone-building projects in the entire history of Oceania? Maybe that achievement is more remarkable than any myth that ever grew up around it.